welcome to our Lunch and Learn today. Here today with Maureen Cavanaugh. I'm Kristen Young. I'm the clinical director for the Herren Project. And Maureen, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Maureen Cavanaugh. I'm a family coach at Magnolia Recovery and Consulting and the founder of Magnolia New Beginnings.
Awesome. I love it when you come on. And by the way, everyone, just so you're aware, Maureen will be on with us the first Tuesday of the month, every 3 months. So 3 months from now, Maureen will be back. It's going to be a regular thing for us, which is awesome. Just a couple housekeeping things. If you are on Zoom and you want to submit a question, we start taking questions right out the bat. So if you have one, shoot it out there. If you're on Zoom, please put it in the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. If you are on Facebook, you can put it right in the comment section and it will get to us. Try not to put any identifying information in there as usual. This is not a confidential video. So anyhow, we just finished up with the holidays, Maureen. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I am so glad that's over with.
I think a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah.
And so I run a spousal support group every week now, which I did last night. And one of the topics came up. We were kind of talking about how best to interact with your loved one, and talking about trying to be positive and, trying to say what you need to say, but do it with love. And somebody asked this great question. And I feel like at this point, after going through our holidays, if your loved one has been using, this is probably really present for you. What do I do if I hate my loved one right now? Like, what do I do if I'm just angry and I can't be positive and I can't do that? Right. So I thought that would be a great way to start off today, is to talk about that resentment and that anger that makes us just want to hurt them, right? Like just want to lash out.
Not to go in a different direction, because it is the same thing. I think sometimes when our families are like so overwhelmed by addiction, and even a lot of people that I work with that are in the middle of it themselves, that they're trying to get into recovery, or they're trying to sustain their recovery, we forget that sometimes we feel like that even when addiction isn't in the picture.
Yeah, it's true. No, I have no addiction in my present life right now. And the holidays brought me to the brink a few times.
Right. So we got to cut ourselves a little bit of slack, I think, because I think that's, there's like maybe probably once a week. I have 4 kids and I'd say once a week, I want to strangle one of them. Right. And they're all adults and everybody's doing the right thing, kind of, sort of, So, and God, if it's your spouse, I mean, I don't have a spouse right now. And that's not because I actually did strangle them, but because, because I want to do too many times probably. But I mean, that's like kind of the normal feeling, and it comes and goes anyhow. So, and when they've been not doing the right things and doing things that have made your life more difficult, why wouldn't you feel like that?
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. And that's what, I mean, I feel like we put so much pressure on ourselves to save them. And this is one of those areas, once you start hearing this idea that you should try to work on your own stuff and not to put your stuff on them, and, to try to say what you need to say, like I said before, say what your feelings are, but be compassionate and all of that. When we can't stay there, we start to blame ourselves. Absolutely. Because we've put ourselves in this place of having to be the savior. And that's not healthy. Right. So I feel like what we're aiming to do is give them grace, right? That's what we're aiming to do. We got to do that for ourselves a little bit more and recognize that all we can do is be human.
Right. Because you have so much more patience and the ability to give love and care for people when you've been doing that for yourself. Yeah. And it seems kind of counterintuitive when you're in the middle of something like that. I know that I was always saying, I don't have time for that. The last thing I'm thinking about is taking care of me. I'll take care of me when she's okay. And I didn't, that's, was a real feeling, but that doesn't work. And you can feel anything you want and think anything you want, but if you want to have a better life and you want everybody to benefit from that, you need to step back and think about what works and what doesn't work. And if something doesn't work, you got to stop doing it.
Right. And I think once you find out what does work, the suggestions and the discussions that we have around that are like rainbows and unicorns land, right? It's like a goal. It's probably a goal that none of us will reach all of the time, right? Like even those of us that are teaching this was one of the things I shared last night. I still struggle sometimes with my own emotions around my ex-husband and trying to manage my feelings and my resentments. And sometimes I don't win. Sometimes I become something that I don't like, and I have to work on that, right? So I can get there more now than I could 20 years ago, but it still is hard. So try to remember, for those of you out there that might be struggling with some of this, that it's not your job to be perfect. It's just your job to try and do the best that you can every given day in a very, very difficult situation.
I think the most important thing that I learned, because I still struggle with this myself. It's so much easier to tell somebody else what to do than to do it
Oh, so
yourself,
much.
right?
Yeah.
So I catch myself though, because I have all this knowledge. So I find myself catching myself sooner than
Right.
than
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
did before. So, and I know I know what I should be doing, even when I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
But the most
Right.
valuable thing I think I learned was that I don't have to give anybody an answer or a response immediately. And I always tell families, addiction is a disorder of immediacy. They want everything right now because they're in pain, right? So there's this soothing that needs to take place, and it needs to happen like 5 minutes ago. We don't have to participate in that. So we don't have to answer the phone right away. You can let your phone go to voicemail, and you don't have to let it go to voicemail for an hour. You don't have to look at the voicemail on there. As soon as it's over with, as soon as it's left, you can see what the problem is or what the reason for the call was. But you don't have to answer the phone to anybody. I mean, unless you're a neurosurgeon, I guess maybe then you have to answer the phone.
And that's only when you're on call. Right? Like, I mean, maybe the president of the United States, like maybe he needs to answer his phone, but even then he goes, golfing and he goes on vacation. And there are times where we have to just turn it off.
Right. And I do that a lot. I look at my phone and I let it go to voicemail now. And then